Well, thank you all for allowing me to speak today. I don't know how many of y'all have ever heard me share my testimony before. You have fair warning if you want to leave right now. If you've never heard me talk before, fair warning. Okay. Just to give y'all a little bio on me. I was born and raised in southeastern Kentucky, in Knox County, Kentucky. Spent the first 22 years of my life there until Mom and Daddy moved down here while I was in college. I found them anyway, though. But anyway, I grew up there, like I said, spent time there in southeastern Kentucky. I got saved when I was 7 years old. I've never regretted it. Best decision I've made in my life. Unfortunately, it took a nice reality slap from God when I was 17 years old to wake me up to realize what all He had given me. That being a Christian was not a membership card that you kept in your wallet or a name badge that you pull it out every once in a while and, oh yeah, I think I have that card. It is who you are or who you are not. It is a lifestyle. It is who you are deep down and what are you going to do with it. And I would like to share with you all a major event in my life and what all God has done for me. When I was 8 years old, I was your normal, happy, healthy little boy. As I like to say, I was skinny as a rail and could run like pantyhose from Dollar Tree. It's one of those water jokes that's just soak in. I was your normal little boy. However, when I was in second grade, I began having trouble seeing the chalkboard. Mom took me to see an optometrist. He did all of the tests that he could. Couldn't find anything wrong with me. So he recommended I go see an ophthalmologist. The ophthalmologist ran all of the tests that he could, and afterward took Mom aside and said, "There's nothing wrong with your son. He just needs a good psychiatrist." Now, for those of you who know me well, you might agree with this, but I assure you, that wasn't going to help. Also, around this time, I woke up one morning and I had to go vomit. Mom kept me home after that for that day, but I was outside playing that afternoon, which I'm sure arose a whole lot more suspicion as to there's something going on here. Over the next about year to year and a half through the remainder of second grade and third grades, the vision problem started getting worse. My vomiting kept happening and happening over and over and over. The frequency of it kept getting more and more and more. Finally, Mom took me to I don't know how many different eye doctors to see if they could find out what was going on. She knew me better than to know I was faking or something like that, trying to draw attention to myself. Well, she begged each one that we went to, "Can you please just give him a CAT scan just to rule out cancer or something like that, something neurologically wrong?" Well, finally, there was one that agreed to do so. So he ordered a CAT scan. We drove from southeastern Kentucky to the nearest place where there was a CAT scan machine, which in state was Lexington. So my mom, dad, brother Aaron, and I went up there. On that day alone, to tell you how severe this issue was getting, I wound up having to vomit 6 times in one day. My vision was blurring more and more. It wasn't getting any better whatsoever. They did the CAT scan, put us, all 4 of us, in a room to wait, and then about 15 minutes later, they came in and said, "Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, we have good news and we have bad news. It's the same. Your son has a rare kind of brain tumor. It's about the size of a plum. It's a cranial pharyngioma. It was located between my olfactory nerves in my nose and my right optic nerves. The vomiting was caused by the tumor putting pressure, building up pressure on a nerve that led to my stomach. That very day, the pressure hurt my head so much it literally felt like my head was going to explode. I was in a whole lot of pain. And so they said, well, you need to get this removed as soon as possible. So 2 days later, on August 21st, 1992, almost 20 years ago, was the last day I saw anywhere near normally. They took me in for surgery. They cut from my right ear over to the middle of my forehead, took out that part of my skull, and they were able to remove part of the tumor. They came out hours later and told my parents that they were able to remove part of it, but they wouldn't be able to remove all of it unless they cut through both optic nerves. Now, this would leave me completely blind. Thankfully, this sent up red flags to my parents, and they did not act on this at the time, which they very well could have, and I'm so thankful that they didn't. What little time they were allowed to see about this, think about it, pray about it, they spent time praying. We had a chain of people praying in, I couldn't tell you how many different states, more than a dozen easily. People praying for me, and there is tremendous power in prayer. I'm well an example of that. While my parents were debating on this, there was a nurse that came to them and privately told them, your son does not need to be here. Get him out of here. These doctors do not know what they are doing. They've only done 2 other types of surgeries like this. And when in doubt, they cut it out. So, understandably, they were distraught. They didn't know what to do. They talked to other hospitals, and they didn't know what to do. There was a pastor friend of ours that came at this time to visit them and visit me, and he gave them some very good words of advice that I will never forget. He said, the God that we worship created the universe. He can take care of one little boy. And so he did. My aunt's brother-in-law was one of the physicians for the Cincinnati Reds. And he said, you need to talk to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. They talked to them. Cincinnati said that they could do it by taking out my forehead and going through my olfactory nerves. Well, this sounded like a huge opportunity. So my parents told the surgeons at Lexington the news. They didn't like it. They didn't want to hear of this, but they had to go through with my parents' wishes. So in preparing me for the helicopter flight and sealing me back up, they did a whole lot of malpractice work. My right eye used to be my strong eye, and now it's totally blind. They had me helicoptered up to Cincinnati, took me off of the helicopter, did an MRI, and to quote one of the workers, Lexington, the surgeons stuffed my head full of gauze. I nearly bled to death right there. Thankfully, I had people to donate blood, so I was able to go through with the surgeries. The surgeons, like I said, took out my forehead, cut me from ear to ear, and so I have titanium plates holding my forehead in place. They cut through my olfactory nerves in my nose and took out the tumor completely. So now I cannot smell. Now, let me explain. We used to live on a farm, so there are good things about not being able to smell. The tumor was completely gone. However, it did leave a whole lot of damage in its being gone. How many of y'all have seen me carrying around a thermos of water or water bottle? Yeah. I'm not going camping. You all don't have a concession stand in your lobby. The tumor destroyed part of what's called my hypothalamus, which controls your eating and your drinking. It tells you when you're hungry, when you're not, when you're thirsty, and when you're not. The part of mine that tells me I'm no longer thirsty is no longer there. So I am constantly thirsty. There is a medicine that slows this down, but it also makes me feel like a slug and blow up like a balloon, so I don't take it. The tumor also completely destroyed my pituitary gland, which controls all growth. I was never supposed to grow above what I was when I was 9 years old. I'm happy to tell you I was not 6'1" when I was 9 years old. God worked a tremendous miracle. My vision was never supposed to get any better than what it was when I left the hospital, which was essentially just black and white blobs. It wasn't anything. Now, praise the Lord, it has gotten better little by little over time. In good lighting, I can actually read about 18-point text, which is about a quarter of an inch. But that's an improvement. It's a huge praise. There were even smaller things, blessings at the time, even miracles, if you want to call them miracles, at that time. We had, obviously, thousands of dollars in medical bills. And my family has never been financially well off. So this was a huge detriment. But I will never forget the helicopter bill alone to fly me from Lexington to Cincinnati was over $6,000. And Mom made a call one day to make a payment on it. There were about $4,000, $4,500 left on it. And I will never forget what she told us that the operator said. She said, "Ma'am, this bill's been paid in full." That was such a tremendous blessing to us. Some of y'all may be saying, "Okay, why is this chunky blind redneck standing up there telling us all about this?" I'm glad you asked. If you get nothing out of what I have said, if you never hear another word I'm saying, understand this. Number one, Jesus saves. There is no other way. Contrary to what other religions, other so-called denominations will even tell you, the Bible says, "For we are saved by grace through faith in Christ Jesus, not by our works, lest any man should boast." There is no other way. Number two, God is still in the business of working miracles. He does it every single day. You just have to look for them. I am well off, well over many, many, many times evidence of that. Number three, you look at all of the different things in my life that God has allowed me to go through. When we look at all of these things in my life, in your lives, God does these things, allows these things because He loves us. Now, some of y'all are looking at me going, "You are crazy." And I assure you, you might be right. But I'm not. I'm telling you, He does these things because He trains us through the good, the bad, and the ugly. God allows these things so we will know what to do in the future because He knows what we're going to be going through. He's seen who we are deep down. He knows what we're capable of, though we don't. So He allows these things to train us, to prepare us. I have had people ask me over the years, "Well, do you blame God for having you to go through this?" I find it amazing. I don't know about y'all, but I find it amazing. You can take some people that absolutely could not care less about God, but as soon as something bad happens in their lives, they blame God. Never understood that. No, I do not blame God. Not whatsoever. I don't blame my parents for the decisions that they made. I am so thankful that God provided good parents for me to raise me up in a Christian household, to help me through grade school, high school, and even college. I don't know where I would have been without them. People have also asked me before, looking at my situation and what all God has allowed me to go through, and wondering, do you want your vision back? I guess you look at it and say you would really like to see. Well, yeah, I would like to be able to see better. However, God has allowed me to give my testimony, to use it as a tool to be a voice for the Holy Spirit. And that's a huge blessing to me. And when I say this, no credit to Jared Jackson. To God be the glory. None to me whatsoever. I just want to be a witness for him, what all he has done. It's just unreal what he has allowed me to do with just being able to wake up and realize, like I said, what do you have? What have I given you? What are you going to do with it? So many times we have these challenges in our lives, and that is what I was going to say. Number 4, God gives us these things to do something with them. We can, mope about it. We can say, why me, why me? And believe it or not, I do say, why me? But not what you might think. I wonder why God had mercy on me to provide this, because it's been a tremendous blessing to be able to share this with people. We have so many blessings throughout our lives, as I said. God provides the good, the bad, and the ugly. But what are you going to do with it? It's like the story in the Bible about the king handing out the talents. He gave out so many talents to each of his servants and told them to go out. Well, they came back and they multiplied 2 times. Oh, that's great. 3 times. Oh, that's great. And then there was the other guy that said, oh, yeah, I have all of mine right here. I stuck them in my closet in a Rubbermaid tub and locked it up with duct tape. Here you go. No, you missed it. We're supposed to take all of this, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and do something for God with it. As Vince Lombardi once said, the measure of who we are is what we do with what we have. Let me say this in closing. How many of y'all remember Bob Ross? Artist. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Bob Ross was an artist, had a big old afro wig, talked in a low voice like this whenever he would paint. And he had an art show on PBS. It was, I think, on Saturday mornings. He would teach people how to paint. Well, anyway, one Saturday morning when I was bored out of my mind and had nothing else to do, I turned it on, watched what he was doing. He had a wonderful landscape painting. Beautiful. It had mountains surrounding a meadow, and there was a nice little pool in the middle of it with a tree surrounding it and little bushes of grass. And he got midway, about 3/4 of the way through the show, and he could have stopped right there. He could have sold it for hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. But then he started mixing together his happy yellow and his burnt orange, and he started raking all of these colors across this cute little pool of water. And all 5 of the people watching this were going, no, Bob, you ruined it. What were you thinking, man? But then he kept going with it. He kept wiping it around, and come to find out, Bob knew what he was doing. He wasn't making a mess. He was turning that into the reflection of the outside around it on the pool of water. He took what he could have sold for $100, $1,000, and turned it into something that was a masterpiece. It's the same that God does with us. We are the canvas. God is the artist. He puts a whole lot of different colors on our canvas. Some of them, it's pretty evident. Wow, that looks great and wonderful. And then sometimes he just throws some paint on there. And the world looks at it and goes, oh man, it's ruined. Toss that puppy away. But then he keeps working with it. And you just have to wait and see what the master's hand does with it. See, we all go through troubles, trials. We all go through battles. But for those of us who are Christians, we can take comfort in knowing that the war is already won. Thank you.
Hello? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Now you're awake. So the center of the eye of the hurricane went right through Waveland, Mississippi. We actually stayed, if you go to the next slide, Joe, we actually stayed in, there's a few facts right there about ground zero. We actually stayed in Long Beach, Mississippi. That's the house right there. This is an older picture because I didn't get a recent picture of the house this year. But I'm telling you, the house looks small, but it's actually pretty big. They've built it up. And that's Jeremy right there. Jeremy Hubbard from another. But this house was in the middle of the debris line where all the apartment buildings from that house to the beach, all those got destroyed. And where we stayed was actually in the debris line in Long Beach, Mississippi. And they have inside the house, they have a marker where the water line came up, and it's about this high in that house right there. So that house has some history. All right, Joe. This is a view looking toward the coastline from the house, and all those concrete pads you see were houses and apartment buildings. It's still like, this is an older picture, but this is still like this. Okay, Joe? That's, I walked up, just looked down, looking around. Some old linoleum still on the pad and a baby spoon there. Okay? Just some damage in the area that's still down. There is some rebuilding going on, but it's just amazing how much work there still is to be done. Sometimes the folks down there feel like they've been forgotten. That is First Baptist Long Beach, kind of a host church down there that we visit, and we actually got to know some of their youth very well, and the youth minister down there actually helped us out. That spire was the only thing left of First Baptist Long Beach because they were down on the coast, but that was the only thing left of their church after Katrina. So they moved it to their new location. All right, Joe? The first night, we usually go to see a historical landmark. I'll let you guys read that. It's a very old live oak tree that we go visit. It's just amazing to see that it survived Katrina, seeing how old it is. Joe? There we are under its branches. It's a massive, incredible tree. Okay? This is a local eatery called Darwell's that everybody just has to go eat there. It's incredible. If you like crayfish etouffee, it's really good. The guy down, wait, can you back up a second? Guy down front on the right in the pink shirt is one that we actually adopted. He's from down there. His name is EJ. And I want to share this with you because these young people made such an impression on some of the youth down there that this guy, EJ, took off work the whole week to be with us. It's awesome. Okay. And then we took a visit. We went to New Orleans twice. One was kind of a sightseeing reconnaissance, and that's on the Riverwalk in New Orleans. And then we went back later. I'll tell you more about that. We went back later to hand out care packages to homeless people, which was a neat experience. Okay? Here's us working on the actual mission house there. Do you remember how many sets of volunteers have gone through that house? 4,907 in 5 years. In 5 years, 4,900 volunteers have gone through this house. So we got the opportunity to actually work on the house, and we were running a new waistline there. There's some of the work. Okay, Joe? Yeah, as you can see, they take time out to have a little fun in the midst of the working. All right. Yeah, there's some more digging for the waistline. All right. This was a house that had been demolished, and they asked us to clean up the lot. And man, I'll tell you what, I was just shocked by how hard these young people work in the heat, and they were just driven to do something to help somebody out. Okay. There's Jose and Marcos moving some beams. All right. Some other guys, John, surveying it, giving orders. Okay. And that's that's the completion. Once we got everything cleaned up so they can begin to rebuild. All right. This was actually an interesting place. It's one of the oldest fish factory down there. And the guy that owned it was somebody who took control during Katrina and just helped everybody else out. He was spending so much time helping others out that he didn't, his own place went to waste So we went and helped them. This is a fast freezer, or what do they call it? A shock freezer or something like that. Anyway, it freezes stuff in like 20 minutes. But it had to come down. Everything had to come down. So we started taking this down. Joe? There it is, coming down, most of it. All right. We also helped out First Baptist Long Beach with their new playground and moving some mulch, some rubber mulch. And the lady was so excited that we did this for her that she gave us 30 pounds of shrimp to have a shrimp boil that week. So that was pretty awesome. All right. This was actually Savannah France. Many of you know her. She used to go here, went with us on this trip, and she had a really good idea of going around the neighborhood and just talking to people, talking to them about God, see if they needed anything done around their house. And this lady, she was hesitant at first, but then she said, "Would you please help me clean out the fence line?" So some of the girls helped her out in cleaning that out. Okay, you can go to the next one, Joe. There they are, cleaning the fence line out. And it's poison ivy, weeds, you name it, 100 degrees. There they are, just eager to help them out. It's just a blessing to see them work like that. All right? This is John Jones. This is the youth minister for First Baptist Long Beach. And the reason I put him up there because he's a really great guy, very ADHD, so much so that he's driving and shiny. Anyway, I bring up John because he was such a tremendous help to us, because on Tuesday, our schedule was to go to New Orleans and hand out care packages. On the way to New Orleans, we realized something was wrong with the transmission on the bus. So what do you do with 17 teenagers that you're on the way to Mississippi, on the way to New Orleans? What do you do with them? So we pull out Google Maps real quick, find them all, drop them off at the mall. Daryl and I go to actually there was a bus place there that was going to work on our bus. So we went there, dropped the kids off. Next slide. And this is what, Joe, this is what you get when you have teenagers at the mall. But John, out of the grace of his heart, got a 15-passenger van from First Baptist Long Beach and shuttled us back to our house. So he was just a tremendous help for us. All right, Joe. Here we are in New Orleans. I think that's Friday where we were handing out. We just you'd be surprised at the congregation of homeless that there is in New Orleans. So beforehand we gathered all these care packages, toothbrushes, wipes, socks, deodorant, all kinds of things that we could just hand out and talk to these people, give them some hope. So that's just an opportunity for the young people to see. Okay. And that's the shrimp bowl that actually the guy right next to the house that we stay in kind of manages and oversees the volunteers that come through the house. And this is his house in his backyard. And it was just an awesome time of fellowship that we had. And those are his air chairs. They're like single hammocks. Everybody wanted one. So really fun time, okay? And there we are, fellowshipping and eating at Darwell's. Okay? I'll tell you what, I could not ask for a greater group of chaperones or a greater group of young people. You guys would be very proud that these young people were representing God and representing your church in Mississippi. Okay? And I had to show this one because I'm telling you what, our worship time, our Devo time was so incredibly powerful that these kids just loved on each other like you wouldn't believe, and they just had so much hope, in what God did through them. And I know some of their lives were changed this week. We had one that was saved. He's not here today on the trip. It's just incredible. So thank you for those opportunities, giving us a chance to go, Joe. And there we are on the beach. Okay, who wants to share? I'm turning it over.
I'll start. Okay. I just want to thank the church again for supporting us financially, for praying for us, for praying for our safety. Ryan's pretty much covered the whole trip, and it was great. And just from my point of view, anybody that has a child up here, you have very much bragging rights because they always make us proud not just their work, but their spiritual outlook on everything. If you can't see Jesus on them, then I don't know what's wrong. It's just a great opportunity for anybody to go. Despite the circumstances, like our trouble with the bus and everything, and the heat, and the smell, the smell of the laundry, it's all great. I don't know, Keena. When I left, we had about an ounce left of 98 loads of detergent, so we did a few loads of laundry. But it was an awesome trip, and I just want to thank you all again for supporting us.
Okay. I just want to say that, the first mission trip I went on, I was Abby and Emily's age, and I've gone on every one of them except for one. And Ryan has been a great youth minister. If you all don't see what we do in the youth room, you're really missing out. If we're always open, if you all ever want to come sit in and watch what we do, or go on a mission trip and be a chaperone. We have some fearless leaders. They're brave for going, and they're great, and Ryan has taught us so much over the years and has led us to do great things, and we couldn't ask for a better youth minister than Ryan.
This is my second year going on a mission trip. Like Tamara said, Ryan's the best youth leader there is. He's amazing as he is. He takes care of us all, makes sure we're all taken care of. And the mission trip was really fun. I mean, when we handed out the care packages, you could see that when you hand it to them, they just lit up with joy, because they can't just do that stuff. But they really appreciate it. And oh dang, I don't want to say now. It was fun.
To add on what Cooter said, I think that, well, first of all, let me thank the chaperones, because if they didn't cook for us and wash our clothes, we wouldn't have made it a week. But I mean, working with these guys and being out there in 100-degree weather and humidity at 100% and all that stuff, you really become close. But what really got me was seeing the homeless people, because you don't know what kind of situations that some people get in down there, and you just gotta be blessed, because a lot of those people don't have a lot. And so handing out those care packages, and I even got to share, the gospel with a few homeless people as well. It just really was an experience for me.
This is my second year I've ever been on a mission trip, and it's just been a really, really good experience for me. We worked our hardest that we could on everything that we ever did, and we got to share the gospel with a bunch of homeless people.
This is the first year I've gone on a mission trip, and it just felt good to see the people on the street getting the packages because they didn't have anything.
This is my first year too, and like the picture of a few of us girls, we were in devotion, and Savannah had an idea that we should go around our neighborhood where the house was and go door to door with witnessing. And we did, and we didn't get that much luck. And then, one person said to come back later. So, we came back later, and they answered, and we talked about Jesus, and she said that she was Baptist. And then we asked her if she needed help with anything, and she said, yeah, we needed some help with our backyard, and so there was vines and a lot of poison ivy and stuff. So this was this was my first mission trip, and this was the best mission trip ever.
This is my second year on the doing mission trip, and last year I saw the homeless people, but it didn't really hit me. And then this year it hit me at how hard it is for them, because they're out in the heat and we have so much, and people don't appreciate how much they have until they see what other people don't have. And the mission trip was just a great experience, and everybody got so close.
This was my first trip to get to go with this group, and I had a privilege of, well, Kim and Marianne and I had a privilege of doing, like she said, 98 loads of laundry in a week. And if I never hear a dryer buzzer go off again, it would be too soon. But no, this group is absolutely amazing. They come together, they lift each other up. I just fell in love with all of them. And I honestly had a hard time last week going back to work because your heart was still with them and your heart was still in Mississippi because you just bonded together. And I just look forward to being able to go again with this group.
I didn't go this time, but I really wish I did because, I mean, I went twice before, and just seeing the look on people's faces when we handled like something simple like toothpaste, or I think last year we did socks. Yeah, and just simple as socks just brought the biggest smile on people's faces, and it just absolutely filled my heart with joy knowing that I actually helped somebody. And that's really what this youth group going on mission trips is about, to help other people and, you know, spread the message of God. And it's really exciting to know that when you get through to people and, you know, they change their total opinion about God, it's like, oh, God doesn't love me or whatever. And it goes from that mind state to, He does love me because it's through us. And I love it.
I don't know.
Okay.
I know there's others that couldn't be here today that would have liked to share, but again, let me just say thank you very much. Parents, thank you for entrusting me with your children. And I think, you know, I can't say it for all of them, but it's going to be life-changing. I can remember the youth trips that I had, you know, when I was a youth, and the impact that they had on me. They're one of the very reasons I'm standing here today. So thank you very much for giving these young people the opportunity. Anytime you can, encourage them. And the cliche is not old. This is your church. In the future, this is your church. Thank you very much.
Y'all. Thank you, Ryan, and our youth for sharing with us this morning. Are you leaving, Tamara? Oh, okay. I told you we were going to have a little bit different service this morning than we did, but you know God works. He worked through the music, through Jared's testimony. He's been at work through testimony of these young people and through the lives that they shared down in Mississippi. And God has spoken this morning. I want us to stand together and let's have a time of invitation. And remember, Vacation Bible School, 6 p.m. tonight, right here in the sanctuary.